Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting fun-filled episode of Radiorama, or as I show you, the name implies, I show you how to work on radios. And today we have a Sparton Model 8 W10. And what's kind of remarkable about this is that the owner's manual and I think the warranty card information was still in this pouch. Radio's richest voice since 1926. That's the instructions. Looks like it folds out into one big piece. I'm not going to do that quite yet because I don't want to damage it. In fact, I'm going to put it back in there and take it off of my workbench while I get the radio electronics taken care of. Here is the innards, and we can see it's a pretty happening chassis. It is AM and FM, and has a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 tubes. So this is getting into radio console territory. We have a rather large speaker. It's like a car speaker up here. Whether it works or not, I don't know. I'm going to bring it up slowly on my Variac. If you have a power transformer like these guys do, you do not want to just slam it on, because if you damage that transformer, you're going to be in trouble and you're going to be really sad. Okay, let's go ahead and fire it up on my Variac. On the lowest setting, it's on. I started out about 50%, because now it's not going to do anything. I just want to see if it's drawing too much current, which it does not seem to be. In fact, it doesn't seem like it's drawing anything at all. Let's see if we got any. I can't see the pilot lights, and the tubes are too dirty to see filaments. I'm curious. Maybe, you know what I've noticed this thing? The plug on my Variac is so wiggly that sometimes it doesn't make good contact. Let me try this one. I can't tell if it's on or not. This is stupid. I don't think it's... I certainly don't think it's on. I'll be seeing something by now. Maybe the... Oh, it wasn't on. Jesus. Alright, let me turn this down. We're only at... Turn it down to 50%. Okay, now it's actually drawing something. Alright, it's not going to blow up. Let's go ahead and bring it up.
Reversed. Take the risk test. Do I have pre-diabetes? That's do I have pre-diabetes?
Holy crap, it works fine on both channels. Both bands, both AM and FM. Someone tried to glue this knob on at one point. Well, let's take care of that. But anyway, let's take the guts out. I'm just curious if it's been worked on or if it's original, which would be remarkable because I think this is a late 40s set. This is a very, very dusty chassis. So I think I'm going to take it out and blow it off. Let's take a look underneath. I've certainly seen worse. We've got a lot of ceramic caps, which is good. Doesn't need to be replaced. We got 2, 3, 4. Spray, guys. 5. There's 5 paper caps. Oh, there's a 6th one right here. That might be okay. Those solid color ones are usually okay. And then we have 4 electrolytic capacitors. Honestly, with maybe the exception of this capacitor, and maybe that one up here, I think it's all original. Which is kind of surprising that we're operating on 99% original components. Some of these were pretty well made, and when they're out here in the West where it doesn't really get that wet, they tend to get preserved pretty well. So first things first, as I said, I don't want to work on this when it's this filthy. I'm going to dust it off and bring it back in before I start. This was clearly kept somewhere really nice and dry because that cleaned up really well. And so now that I've cleaned it up, let's see what values we have in our electrolytic can. 40, 40, 10, and 50. At 450, except for the last one, which is 50 volts. So it's humpback and square are the 40s, and then the triangle is the 10 microfarads. So let me write this down, or at least make a notation of it so when I flip it over I'll remember. Alright, so here comes the super fun task of recapping this. The electrolytics on this are not going to be fun. Not a lot of room to work under there. I got this coil thing directly over the top of it, so getting in under there is not super easy. And I'm not a fan of, like, this is one of those sets where, like, there's 10 things tied to each lug, except for these two guys here. Tricky. Do I feel like doing this right now? I think what I might do, I just finished this huge Grundig radio today, and I'm kind of like a little bit electronic out. So I think what I might do is actually work on the case, because it's got this water stain. Probably someone set a house plant on that. That's really unfortunate. I wish people would just be careful. But then again, you know, think about it. Probably by the time that happened, no one gave a shit about the radio. There's like, it's an old radio, it's been in the house forever. Yeah, see, this is kind of a weird connection. Okay, well, I went over the wood with some Old English. I'm going to follow that up with some wax. But I just wanted to see if I could even this out a little bit, which I could. The other thing I did is I took the metal face plate off because it's pretty snazzy looking, and I buffed it out. That'll make up for some of the dullness of the finish. But let's get started on the chassis. I'm going to start replacing the electrolytics. I've pulled these 3 leads off, and I've soldered in the new electrolytic for the first value, and then these 3 positives, I'll replace that cap, will go to the positive of that new electrolytic. This is the low voltage one. Calls for a 50 and a 50 volt one. So I have a 47 microfarad at 160 volts. It's fine as long as the voltages are at or greater, you're okay. Okay, so I'll replace the electrolytics, and it works very well.
Star 1013 is an iHeart radio station.
That's FM. That works as good as a modern radio, so it must be a good design. It's been a long time since I worked on one of these models, but I don't remember them being that sensitive, but maybe this one just is. So let me take it back out. We need to resume with the recapping job. The next thing is to replace all these paper capacitors. We have 1, 2, probably 3. I can't tell with these guys. I think those might be plastic film. So what I'll do is I'll take one out and bust it open and see if it is. If it is, I'll leave this one in place because this one's easy to get at. Then we got one lurking underneath here. It's a great big fella. Not sure what his value is. But this is a 0.05 rated cap. This is a 0.01 rated cap, as you can see here. When it comes to rubber insulated wire like this, when it's stiff, do not touch it. Just leave it alone. If you shatter the insulation off, then it's not going to be insulated anymore. So just stay away from that area. Alright, so all the caps were replaced. Did test this guy and it was very leaky, so I replaced both of those. So let me see if it's going to still work, which I hopefully will. And if it does, then we will move back to the cabinet, because my back is starting to hurt. I've been working on electronics since 8 o'clock in the morning. It's now 3:30. I absolutely cannot get over how sensitive this is on FM. It's more sensitive than some modern FM radios. It's got a good sound quality too.
Security.
Hung around with the thugs.
Can't play too much of that, otherwise Google will peg it and it'll say copyrighted. Anyway, yeah, this thing is super freaking sensitive. So To the engineers who worked on the FM circuit on this thing, hats off, man. This sounds as good as some of the high-end FM tuners that I've worked on. All right, next thing I'm going to do is work on the case a little bit more. I've got my Carnu wax over here. Usually I get my mechanical buffer out, but it's a lazy Sunday afternoon, so I'm just going to spend some quality time doing it by hand with this dirty old sock. And that'll bring back the original sheen, because this was pretty shiny. I already did the metal work. I took this off separately, and so that looks pretty good. Okay, well, I spent some quality time working on this guy last night. It's kind of a homely design. It's the Sparton faceplate that really makes it shine. The other thing that I did was the knobs were kind of grungy looking, so what I did is I actually took the little brass pieces out and I polished them up and then glued it back in, and I polished the plastic too. So just little stuff like, oh no, don't fall down there. It almost fell behind my workbench. Now what I want to do is, this already has a phono connection, and it's a power transformer set. So there's two things good. We don't need to add a switch for that, and also we don't need to add an isolation transformer, because that thing is our isolation. Now if this were a hot or a floating chassis, absolutely you need to use a isolation transformer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drill a hole right here next to the RCA connection and put this little rubber grommet in there so that we can run this audio cable through, and that way it won't chafe or get cut. You know, you don't want the insulation to get ripped, and that would kill your audio. And so we'll do that, and then we'll run it just directly through that connection that already exists through a pair of 33 ohm resistors to split up our right and left channels together to make mono. It's pretty straightforward. It's a lot more straightforward than on a hot chassis set. In fact, we had a bunch of donations come in recently, and they are all like transformered sets. It's like, goody. That's less work for me, because for these shows, we have to have like 60 to 80 sets per show. This guy, still working on it, but this one is going to be next in line while I'm waiting for that guy to burn in. I had a problem with it yesterday where the ECC 85 tube had an intermittent short, and I didn't realize it, but now it's working fine. But that's not that episode. This is this episode about the Spartan. All right, so we got our right and left channels running together. Got this knot tied here, but I'm waiting for the glue gun to warm up, because I'll put a little dab in there to keep that from moving around. But while I'm waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, let's oil the bearings that are in the tuning condenser and its related spinning, turning components. We want to make this easier to turn for the user, because it feels nicer. So I'm just touching up all the little things that possibly move. Not possibly, actually move. Including this little shaft back here. Let's get this knob here. Don't get any on the string, I'll be really sorry. Yep, that already feels a lot better. I hear something squeaking. It's probably this. So what I usually do is I just put a little drop of oil. I'm doing this one-handed, which is why I'm doing this. Just wipe it on the bottom there. Oh, the back of it. There we go. Just rub that in. All right, no more noise. Of course, no one's going to tune it like that either. They're going to be like this. But anyway, I'm OCD. What can I say? I like things to be... I'm not a perfectionist, whatever. I know some people watching this channel are like, ooh, you didn't do it right. You're probably right. I probably did do some things wrong. But all that matters to me is that the radio works really well. It looks a lot better. And this was probably bound for the junk pile, so I saved it from being destroyed. All right, so before I bolt it all back in, I did run my audio cable in, and I've not bolted everything down. I want to make sure it works, which it does. You know what? This is an absolute rockin' radio. Like, every once in a while you get something in, you're like, whatever, and then you hear it and you're like, holy shit, like that sounds really good. So anyway, I'm going to put the bolts back in, the knobs back on, and then we're going to give it a final test. And this little short episode will be done. I was making a point there. That's like modern music playing through this thing, and it sounds pleasant to listen to. It's nice. I'm also really impressed with how freaking good FM is on this thing. Like it works really well.
Jordan secured a spot after selling his majority stake.
Bob's already wagered on one anytime touchdown. I got a plus money.
Or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your...
Seriously? That's...
And here is likewise, I'm going to turn it down because it'll be louder. AM. Whoops, that's not AM, that's phono. You know what, I'm an idiot. I was on AM earlier, sorry. Let's go to FM. Duh.
That's a whole other podcast. They're aware of the business opportunity that space is.
Had not had...
Corporate America, reparations.
So actively hiring for all positions. 2024 time. 102.9 KBLX, the best throwbacks in R&B while you work. How you doing? It's Billy Vidal. It's... Don't wait until... I don't need a backup, need a pro one, don't need a...
Anyway, like, it's kind of a lot of sound in a small package. I mean, it's not that big. It's bigger, but like, I've had radios that are way bigger than this that don't sound as good as this thing does. All right, well, I feel very satisfied that this is ready for the big time. If someone comes to one of our little shows and they're like, I like that radio, then they can take it home with them. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Until the next time a radio comes across my workbench, we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.